when you aim for something that feels absolutely extraordinary, you're forced to think in a bigger way, to completely differently identify the types of activities that you're doing, to really hone in on those and to leverage your unique strengths and not try and do everything. So this ends up leading you to a more transformative path. A lot of us end up in a place of overthinking it and never taking action. And I think that pattern of being able to say yes and just take a chance. You don't know all the answers on the other side. It is taking a risk, but you've had this pattern play out in your career of saying yes has provided a benefit and leaping before you're ready in a way. So what's interesting is I was reflecting on this question a little bit. And one of the things that I remember having an 80% down to like, what does it look like to focus on that 20%? Having the mental shift of starting my career as a designer and thinking, this is it. This is it. I've made it. I love design. All I'm going to do for the rest of my life is put my nose into my screen and design amazing websites or tools or, things like that. And I really thought, honestly, that was the vision. That was as far as the vision went in my career. And I couldn't imagine at that time anything that would be more fulfilling or more exciting. And then the opportunity to start leading a team came up just a couple of years in. And I was stuck with this actual dilemma of, do I say yes to a leadership opportunity? Like I thought my path was this. I was pretty sure that, those were the things that I was good at, and that's where it ended. But I did take a risk, and I said, even though I don't have any training, I don't have management experience, I haven't gone through HR, leadership trainings or anything, I'm going to say yes to this opportunity because there's a spark of learning how to build something and build something that is going to have a huge impact. And so there was this moment of saying yes and jumping into that and doing it messy and doing it wrong and learning along the way that allowed me to fully expand into leading things I never thought I would lead, like leading teams across North America and Europe and building a global marketing business together with this amazing leader that I had, and us like working through P&L challenges and figuring out how to build call center functions and success metrics and all the things that I learned through that job. And it just continually stretched me. And it didn't always feel good. Like I felt afraid a lot of the time, having to show up in boardrooms and say, I know what I'm talking about for SEO strategies and things like that. But every step of the way, I was challenging myself to say, like, just because I'm afraid doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. So another theme that comes up a lot is that idea of discomfort. So a 10x jump, you think, oh my goodness, this 10x jump is going to be incredible. I'm just instantly going to be really good at this. And that's not often how it feels, right? So the 10x goals are emotionally and psychologically transformative, is what the 10x book says. So it really demands this entirely new version of you. But also, do you feel like you can go on vacation ever? Or are you so embedded in the work? You've got your fingers in everything that if you extracted yourself, everything would implode? That's really been something that I've thought a lot about and have worked on within leadership roles within my career, has been how well have I coached and trained those around me to handle things while I'm gone? Do I feel like I could successfully take a vacation or not? I think that's a nice barometer. And the wonderful thing about that is the ripple effect of you showing trust in your team empowers people to really step up and to be able to lead and to practice leadership. And I think sometimes people don't get the opportunity because we're gripping so tightly to the control and saying, I must do this, I must steer the ship. And yet, if you let go a little bit here and there, you allow others to build those leadership skills that they wouldn't otherwise. Yeah. It's almost nice to say there's no physical way that I could. And so therefore I have to be creative and I have to invest in my team, because if I tried doing it all, I would absolutely fail. Like there is no success in that. I think something that really resonates with me in that also is the fact that as we think about coaching people, there is this inherent belief that people are capable and that they're creative and they can come up with solutions if we give them the right parameters and the right time and the right support to think it through. And so just the muscles that are built, the mental capability, the confidence that's built in allowing people to see that, oh, I do have that within me. Even if I'm only 17, I do have that within me. It's something that can be cultivated. And I think it can change someone's life. The trajectory that I thought I was on at some point, I had no idea it would ever become a leadership career for almost 23 years. And someone had to show belief in me first. And so sometimes I think being an advocate and being that leader who believes in someone and says, I know you're capable to do more. I know that if I give you that space and that support, that you will step up and do far more than you've ever thought you could do. It's just been phenomenal to watch those things happen again and again in that pattern. When I was in high school, I grew up in a family that had limited resources financially. Both of my parents were artists. And so as I was thinking about college, there was this point in time where I knew, hey, I'm going to have to do this on my own. I'm going to have to fund most of this on my own. And so I had no idea if I could make money or all of these things that I was going to have to learn. But yet there was this pattern of my dad investing in me and showing me how to use computers when I was 12 years old. And my good friend's family let me work in their shop when I was 14. And then, throughout that period of time, there was this sort of investment that people were making in me to help me understand that, hey, when I get out there in the real world, I may have to work 3 jobs, which is what I did, but I can do it. And I can make my way through college and I can be self-sufficient. And so I think part of that is the knowing that you can and trying and working hard. But part of it, again, is who is investing in you and who is giving you those opportunities and pouring into you to even give you the belief that you could do it. And so I think our roles as leaders are supremely important in that way. Yeah, I would agree with that 100% because I feel like when people come to you and they ask you, what should I do? Can you tell me the answer? What they really want is for you to give them that space to think it through because they've got the majority of what they need. They just need to think it out and come up with the plan. And then they want to hear, am I on the right track? And because every other time when someone says, tell me the answer, what should I do? And then you give them the answer, inevitably there's resistance. It's like, well, that's not exactly what I wanted to do. Or that's not, well, you don't know this or that information. There's so much goodness that they've already got. And so we're doing them a disservice by not allowing them to extract all of that and put it together in a way that makes sense if we're just telling them the answer. And oftentimes they have an answer that's even better. They have something that they feel committed to and they could go do right now because they came up with the idea themselves. Yeah. And I think what's amazing about that is the idea that that leader, or whether it's George Washington or any other great leader, oftentimes had a process around how they would select or solicit input. And so they weren't making decisions in a vacuum. Leaders often knew that in order to have great results repeatedly, they need to get input. They need to get perspectives. They need to be challenged. One of the things I really loved about working at Amazon was the leadership principles, where we talked about understanding how to be right a lot. And it sounds a little conceited maybe on the surface, but what it means actually underneath the surface is that you look for other opinions, that you purposely solicit information from your team, from other sources, and that you actively ask for your ideas to be challenged. Is there a better way to do this? Is there something I haven't considered? What are my blind spots? And rather than saying, I'm right a lot because I know everything, what you do is you're soliciting all this information so that when you make a decision, you are more confident, and you are right more often, which I really liked that theme. So again, it doesn't rely on my own expertise and my own perfect track record. It takes into account maybe what I've learned, but part of that pattern is always soliciting that input from others. Biggest challenges that people run into often is that their voice isn't being heard. And so what I love about that description that you just shared is, hey, their voice was heard. Their voice was heard for hours. And so whether or not you win the day or the decision goes in your favor, you have been heard, and it's much easier to commit to whatever decision you come to.
Yep. And the commitment's got to be there.
Okay, that was part 1 of my conversation with Bob Hoffner. He had so much great wisdom to share, though, that I'm going to have to do a part 2 episode. In the next episode, we're going to dive into how to shift your identity to take on 10x goals, what Bob learned leading through the chaos of opening 40 stores in just over a year, and why optimism might just be your greatest advantage as a leader. That's it for today. Thank you